Hello, my name is Lemerck, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to Season 2 of the Naval Sports League. The NSL is the premier competitive league in Holdfast's Age of Sail. The NSL is the proving ground of greatness for Holdfast's most experienced and accomplished sailors, officers, and captains. Battles take place on various maps with unpredictable wind conditions, forcing teams to plan for the best but adapt to the worst as the whims of fortune demand. We are especially excited this season for the many new features Holdfast has given us in the new Age of Sail update, adding incredible mechanics like boarding and ship capture and captain commands. We have included almost every new feature Anvil Game Studios has given us in this new update, though even with all these new dimensions to the game, the path to victory in the NSL remains the same as ever. A team wins the match in the NSL by sinking or capturing all of the opponent's largest ships, the heavy, powerful 17-gun brigs and the lighter, more maneuverable 8-gun schooners. These are what we call the capital ships of the NSL, and once they are all sunk or stolen, the battle immediately ends. Each team has 35 minutes to complete this mission, and if the timer concludes before either team can completely defeat the other, then the team which has the most capital ships remaining under their control wins the battle. If both teams have the same amount of capital ships, the tie is decided in favor of whoever has the highest overall point score. There are 8 teams competing this year, some returning, some newly formed. All of them have the same goal, to put together a record of victories in their battles to make it into the top 4 teams of the league. Only the top 4 teams will have a chance to compete for the Champion's Prize, which is determined by a 2-week tournament among those top 4 teams, which will take place after the regular season ends. I want to thank you for joining us today, and I hope the league can inspire you to pick up Holdfast yourself, jump on a ship, and learn the art of sailing as we all have. Perhaps one day you too will compete in the Naval Sports League and burn bright in the fires of competition. The pregame coverage will begin shortly. I wish all the teams the best of luck, and I'm confident they will put on a tremendous show of courage and bravery for you to enjoy. So stick around and see what happens here at the Naval Sports League. Hi, everybody. My name is Lemerck, and welcome to Season 2, Game 2 of the Naval Sports League. I am joined today by my good friends and co-hosts, Percy and Kieran's. Percy, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you, Lemerck. Pleasure to be here.
We're very happy to have you. And returning for his second game co-hosting, we have Kieran's. How are you, Kieran's?
I'm doing great. I'm excited for this match.
All right, gentlemen, we have the Hydras versus the Rangers today. I have been anticipating this battle since I saw the schedule come out a few months ago, and I am ready to see these two teams fight. Before we get started talking about who these two teams are, what we can expect to see from them, let's quickly go through the first of our league standings. Obviously, you're going to see a lot of zeros on this page, but we do have some movement here with the Krakens at the top of the league standings. You must be happy to see that, Percy, with your first victory and 20,000 points. We also have the Rum Rats, of course. They are on the bottom. That doesn't mean they are the worst team or anything. They're just the first guys to take an L in the Naval Sports League. And they have, of course, the inverse, negative 20,000 points. Now, I want to take a moment to talk about what those points mean. For all intents and purposes, what you're really looking at is that win-loss record, that 1-0 or that 0-1. Teams are trying to build a win-loss record that gets them on the top half, the top 4 teams of the Naval Sports League, and they're trying to avoid that bottom half. Only the top 4 teams are going to get to join the championship tournament at the end of the season and possibly contest to be the champions themselves. So that's what we're always looking at, those top 4 teams, and everybody else is fighting to get up there. But before we get on to today's match and talking a little bit about that, we do have a leader of the Krakens here with us in Percy. Percy, can you just very quickly tell us a little bit about, you've probably been percolating on your battle last week. What have you taken from that battle that you're bringing here when you're watching the Hydras versus the Rangers today? What's changed, do you think, in the NSL since last season?
I don't know necessarily too much. I think it's going to be a lot of how the captains are going to play with the dynamic wind. That's going to be the most important. Last season, wind just went one direction and you had to make your way around it. This time, the wind is constantly changing. So if you have captains that necessarily are newer or something that's going to be coming into this, that's going to be, I think, the key part of this. All the cannons have changed, so that's even the playing field. But it's now going to be down to how the captains, they've got to manage the landscape in a completely different manner than last season. And that's what we had to struggle with last week.
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very well said. And yeah, so for the wind is a hard thing to conceptualize. You don't get to see it as a viewer, but it's going to start north today when we start the battle. It'll hold that for a little while, but then a new great thing in the Age of Sails is the ability for dynamic wind. We don't know what's going to happen to the wind. We are not in control of it. We give it some vague guidelines. Don't change too much. Give it a certain amount of time between changes. But aside from that, we're not really in control of the winds. And like you said, Percy, the captains are reacting in real time to it. So let's talk about today's battle. We have the Hydras versus the Rangers. For all of you listening today, Percy is going to be our man with the Hydras. He's going to be following the Hydras. He's going to be talking about the Hydras. When we want to find out what the Hydras are up to, he's who we're going to go to. Kieran's is going to be with the Rangers today. So I always like to start this off by introducing the teams a little bit. Let's talk about who these guys are, and then we'll get both of these gentlemen to kind of make a strongman argument for why they think their team is going to win today. The Hydras, a new name for an old team. Last year, they were the SCP-38s. They were the second place team in the league. They were an incredible sort of rags to riches story when it came to starting from a group of, just loosely associated regiments and forming a team that could challenge the giants of the NSL. They successfully did so, and they were probably the team to watch last year, and we are carrying that enthusiasm over. The Hydras have added even more teams. I think the rename of the Hydras really shows you how they view themselves. There are so many new groups. Every time you cut the head off of a Hydra, a new one comes back, and that's how they see themselves. They are a coalition of great players looking to make their mark in the NSL. The Rangers are a newcomer to the NSL. They did not play in previous seasons. Their regiment is called the TRR, and that's the Royal Rangers. And so their team is called the Rangers, and they're coming in today to try this for the first time. This is their first ever competitive battle in the Naval Sports League. I can't speak for anything before that. The last competitive leagues that we didn't host ourselves many years ago. So they may have competed before, but I know that this is going to be fairly new to them. And you can see the lobby cam there. I think we're following the Hydras, so feel free to wave to them as we're talking about it. So let's talk about these teams, gentlemen. I'm going to start with Kieran's. I think you've got the bit of a harder job to talk about a team none of us have ever really seen before. But what do you think a new team just that freshness and that newness is going to bring today? What are the Hydras' weaknesses you think that they can exploit? Why do you think that the Rangers may win today?
Well, I think that although they may be a new team in the NSL, they're certainly not new to Holdfast, and they've got a lot of experience in naval, a lot of experience in line leading. But more pertinently, they've got a good bunch of crew that I think that are pretty well trained, and I think they'll treat this like a more serious and more competitive naval event, and I think this might give them a little bit of an upper hand. I think that because of the confidence of the Hydras, they played really well last season. I think that they may come into this without, or maybe underestimating the Rangers a little bit, but I have a lot of confidence in the Rangers. I think they're going to perform really well.
Well, we're going to see it firsthand in just a few minutes. All right, let's pass it over to Percy. You know the Hydras just about as well as anybody could. Why do you think that they're going to win today?
Well, I mean, firstly, I think when you look at it, is that we have potentially a super team on our hands. You know, we have the strength of last season augmented even further by the boarding aspect, which this game is going to go on. They brought in the 2 BIR, they've got the 7 Foos, they bolstered the ranks within themselves in the number 16. I know they've brought through a load of their melee players, so we could definitely see a lot of fireworks just from that. You've got the backbone that was already there last season with their guns and stuff like that. They've got a load of captains from across the game that are just high tier. Like if we're looking at a tier list, they're up there. So just on that alone is going to be a good strength enough. But I think also the fact that we are playing in an NA zone today. I'm not necessarily sure about how we're looking in regards to the Rangers and how they feel there. But I know that if it's going to be NA, the Hydras are going to be getting in close and personal, and they are going to make sure that you feel their thunder. And that's just how I look at it. And you know, I think it's going to be a really, really, really dangerous match. But as we say, we don't know what the Rangers are going to bring. I don't know. Kieran's doesn't know. Maybe you do. You know more than I do. But personally, I think the Hydras are just going to go. We're going to have our game. We're going to go for it. And that's all they can really do. Because if they don't know their opponent, they have to know themselves. And I think they do.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said there. I think the prevailing sentiment amongst the community is that this is the Hydras game to lose today because of that wealth of experience that they have that the Rangers simply do not. And so this is the beginning of the Rangers story. If we looked at the beginning of the Hydra story when they were the SCP-38, you may not also have predicted that they may have come to rise up like they did in the rankings and be the second place team last season. So whatever happens today, the book is not written on what these two teams can bring to the NSL. Let's quickly take a look at our map today. We are on Outer Isles. This is a map that you may recognize, but it's going to be a little different than you've ever seen it before. Outer Isles used to have half of the map in open ocean and half in this triangular shaped formation here. Now everything's happening in the triangles. These pill-shaped islands can be fleet killers. If you've watched some of the season one's battles, you'll notice that those sort of awkward angles of those longer islands, they can funnel teams. Like you can't turn into one of those islands, so you can only turn in one direction, and it forces your fleet to sometimes engage the enemy at an angle that doesn't get all your cannons into rotation, right? The cannons are on the sides of the ship, so they've got to be able to hit something off that side. But if the enemy is in front of you, as we call it, crossing the T, then all of a sudden you're getting struck and you're not striking back. Those long islands can put players and captains and teams in that situation. So we are at this point getting pretty close to the start of the battle, but I do want to ask my co-hosts here, and we'll start with Percy. If you're the Hydras today, if you're the Hydras, what is your opening move? The wind is going north, so as our viewers can see, it's kind of going down from the furthest point in the map and coming towards us here. What are you doing with that wind and this map?
I like the idea of the fact that if you're going to go outwards, so if you're going to go towards and with the wind, you are basically splitting your fleet, because that little tiny island there is going to make it difficult. You have to kind of rejoin yourself. So you can move that way if you fancy, but I'm thinking that if you want to keep maximum fleet cohesion, which I probably generally recommend to all of our teams in most cases, if you want to follow that, it's probably going to be like at least either heading central or upwards, sort of left against the wind, and then hopefully getting something to change that. But if the Hydras are wanting to have fun and they want to get in and have a little bit of a mess, go straight down middle and just see what the Rangers are going to do from there.
Yeah. So what I would say is, and I want to ask this for you, Kieran's, is your opening different if you want to engage in an artillery battle as compared to set yourself up for a boarding action?
I think so. I think that if the Rangers want to play a little bit more passively and just work on their gunnery, I think that they're going to have to stay in the open water, try not to get swept into the middle. But this map is brilliant. I'm really excited to see what the teams are going to do.
Yeah. I think we all have some experience on this map, not always good ones, because of the way it funnels you into certain positions and it really hems you in. So we are in the map right now. If you don't have it already, you will soon be seeing these teams getting ready. We've got about a minute and change before this battle starts, these ships take off, and we're going to see the opening moves from both of these teams. I very much hope that these guys are going to give you some fast action today, but these are experienced sailors and admirals. A lot of times these guys really want to sort of do a vibe check with the other team, see where they're going, see what could possibly be happening, what the strategy is that the other team is employing, and then adjust on the fly. So much of this is about planning for that opening move, but then afterwards reacting quickly as things progress and as the situation develops. So we are 1 minute out and very excited to see how this is going to go. We watched last week, Kieran's, as the I didn't really see what I was looking to see from the Corvettes, the new ship in the league. To see them maybe have some very unique sort of utility in battle, and instead they supported other ships for the most part. Do you see that as the future of the league develops, kind of being their role as a very very kind of tucked back support ship that's a little afraid to get into too much danger on its own?
I honestly don't. I think right now it's maybe a little bit underutilized. Playing the Corvette so much in pubs has taught me that it's a very versatile and game-changing vessel. I think that if anything, it should be used more. It should be used as a flanking vessel, if you know, things like that. But I think maybe some teams might throw it into the same pile as the gunboats, where they're merely there to cause a bit of chaos and stuff like that.
Yeah. Percy, any feelings? I mean, you've actually deployed a Corvette. What wisdom can you give to us about its utility?
Corvette. I've loved this ship. It's the new ship on the block, so everyone wants to try something new with it. And the thing that I love about it is that those cannons will kill anything you put in front of it, providing you get enough angle and time to get those volleys off.
Yeah,
The downside is that if you are focus fired or in any way outnumbered in a battle, you are going to have to repair as much and as possible as you can, because you are not going to survive it. So it's a trade-off. You have to have a fight that's going to be that you can push through and do a lot with it, but at the same time, if you lose it, while it necessarily doesn't impact the score, it impacts how the rest of your team is going to work, because the new 8 guns, the 8-gun schooners, their firepower has been greatly reduced. They are in a lot of cases a boarding or a ramming ship. I'm not necessarily saying that's their only use, but for the most part, that's where they are really effective now, which means one of your major firepower threats is this new Corvette, and it does a lot of damage, but it's a very short burst amount of damage, and then you have to figure out, am I getting out or am I staying here?
Yeah, not to mention it is the glass cannon ship of the league. It has the least. It is even more fragile in the NSL than it is even in the public servers. But all right, let's take a look at what we're seeing here. Percy, the Hydras are claiming the weather gauge. What that means for those of us who maybe not are able to not see the wind, remember that the wind starts by going north, right? So for whatever perspective you're at, take a look at that compass on the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, and you will see the north. That is where the wind is blowing. Now, you can go that way to start off with, and you'll get good speed. But experienced teams know that getting good speed in the beginning, when you're not actually fighting anybody, you're just moving into position, is much less important than having speed at the moment of contact with the enemy. And so, Percy, what are you seeing from the Hydras right now when it comes to the weather gauge?
Well, not only that they're taking the slower route to get in, but they are also letting the Rangers fall into not necessarily a trap, but the sort of sense of security. We have speed, so if there's going to be engagement right now, the Rangers could lose all of it if they take the engagement in a bad favor or bad terms. I'm loving the positioning here. You've got almost 2 separate groups, or maybe 3 in this case, because we have obviously from the Hydras here. They've got their artillery ships. They're big, massive 17 guns. These ships are much bigger than the 17s now. More cannons, more firepower, more threat. They are at the back. If there's an engagement coming around, they're just going to blast fire over all the other ships. And those ships in there are in the way. They're here to cut out fights, cut out fires. If you want to get close to those other big ships in the back, you're going to have to pay for it. And if
Yeah.
you notice very nice and easily in the center there, you've got that little corvette that's hanging between that mid-ground. If it needs to run, it can. And it's going to have all the fire of that fleet ready to fire back at whoever's going to target it. And it's
So
going to fire while it's screaming.
talking about the Rangers, Kieran's, they have offset their Corvette, and they seem to be having a very just standard line in weight. Do you think that they're going to dive south and head towards the Hydras, or are they going to stake their position here? What's your prediction?
Well, if it was me, I would stake my position here. I mean, being able to take the center as they've done, I think is pretty well done. I wouldn't chance going out right now, going south. It leaves your fleet really open to a swift attack. So I'll play it a little bit cool and just weigh up what the enemy's going to do.
It seems, Percy, that the Hydras are taking their 17 guns forward and leaving the rest sort of docked behind the safety of that pill-shaped island. What do you think is going on in their heads here?
In this case, the Hydras know that if they come around behind, the 17 guns only have one way to go, which is forward. So they're doing that now, so that if the Rangers want to come forward here, they are coming against the wind, and they're going to be facing a broadside the entire time. So this here is putting the I suppose the ships that are the biggest targets that people want to kill. They're tanky, but they are still the ships people want to kill. Put them in the place of, if you want to come and get them, you're going to pay for it. Because these ships here around in this sort of little docked area, they're going to come in and fight no matter what. If they need to get to, they'll get in the way, they'll sacrifice. These 17 guns are just going to blast fire across the battlefield if the Rangers take the bait. But they're not. So while they're not taking that bait, they're just pushing them forward. It's like a chess game when you're moving your pawns forward. In this case, these guys are already queens.
So we do see some movement from those 8 guns that were kind of hanging out behind that island, and that seems to be, like you said, from the Rangers pressuring the rear of the Hydras. They seem to be circling around very slowly to get to the rear of the Hydras formation. We are creating a very large circle, not a circle of death, not a doom spiral, because nobody's shooting yet, but we are seeing these guys jockey for position. And the question is, when are one of these teams going to go for the kill? When is the strike going to happen? What are the Hydras waiting for? The experienced team here that you have to imagine is probably going to be willing to wait. Whereas the Rangers, I would guess, if I'm making a guess here, new to the game, want to get in there, want to get a fight, they may start an attack run very, very soon. And you're seeing some evidence from that, Kieran's, that front 8 gun of the Rangers in the Spanish ships. It has turned in. Oh, maybe not. Maybe it's not. I thought it was going to turn in and run along the edge of that pill-shaped island, but they seem to continue to be going around. And the Hydras are just sort of skirting away from them.
Yeah, it's surprising, really. I thought they would make a dive, try and get in the combat. I think, as I predicted, they're definitely playing more passive. But you know me, Merc. I'm one that I would just full send it and just hope for the best.
That's true. They do seem to be ready to engage, insofar as the Rangers seem to be doing a port side turn. This is kind of what we saw last week as well. These teams are more than willing to create space. However, if they don't complete that port side turn, if they just keep running towards the northeast, they're going to expose the rear of their fleet to Percy, the Hydra's 17 guns that are charging in now, as we can see.
They are jockeying. I think either they're going to go they're probably going to take left around this island ahead of us here, which means they are going to go for that gap between their spawn and the long central pill that we had here. This fight looks like it's going to be taken out to the Central Ocean, and I think if they manage to get this right, and hopefully the wind doesn't change. Oh, never mind. At the fly, they look like they're holding already. One ship is in place. They're looking to see if they can get some free shots here. Looks like Mika's... No, the wind must have changed here, I think, because they brought their squares back out. The wind was going well for them, but I think it's just changed. Looks like, however, either the Rangers still have good wind here, or they've either changed in their favour, or maybe we're seeing something that might be a little bit panicky. But I'll pass it back to you, Lamont. Let's see what we're looking at here.
Yeah. What I'm seeing right now, sort of from the bird's eye view, is that the Rangers actually have a very interesting moment here. If they are brave, very, very, very brave, and they must be brave to be leading with their Corvette. If they are very brave, they could put a lot of pressure on those 17 guns while the Hydra's 8 guns and Corvette are circling around. But yeah, that Ranger Corvette is pulling out. It realizes, I don't want to be the first ship leading here. This is very bad for me. Instead, I think the larger ships are going to engage with the larger ships. But what is that Hydra maneuver coming around behind?
Here.
Yeah, what are you seeing?
This is two separate groups here. One has got the sort of the trio of the schooners. It's like the 8-gun cabal over here from the Hydras. I've watched and I've seen the loadouts of both players and crews on these ships. These ships, in some cases, are set up for boarding. There is the medkit ship here, the Hydra Defiant, that has got some of the premier sort of like the NA meleers that are ready to go and take over a ship if they can get on it. And they are sending those ships in while letting the Hydras, I guess, sort of most experienced gunners, captained by Mika and Falasian, to just take apart whatever is in front of it at the start here. Because they aren't going to take past this pill, I don't think. Or if they are, they're giving each other cover fire. But there's going to be 2 full 17 guns here, absolutely blasting whatever is at the front of the Ranger ships here. And it looks like there's already a bowsprit gone on that first 17 gun over there for the Rangers. That is not a position I'd like to be in right now.
Kieran's, tell us a little bit about what the Hydras are going through in this approach that they're trying to make. They're obviously trying to get to those 17 guns. They want their whole fleet with the 17 guns. You think that they're going to make it before getting caught from the rear by the Hydras?
Yeah, I mean, I think you said it before. If they want to win here, they've got to be brave. And I thought there was an opportunity to spring up on the 17 guns, but you got to remember these things move quite quick. The 17 guns, as soon as they wet them sails, they've got a few knots on them. Extra, and I think the Hydras should probably continue on the path that they're on and try and hunt down the 17 guns, because right now the Hydras have got their 8 guns in pursuit of the Rangers, and they're not really doing much to sort of deter that. The one of the flagships of the Rangers, the old Ironsides, as Percy said, completely lost.
Bowsprit, yeah, it's got nothing at the front, and unfortunately, it's looking like it's going to be doing a rear guard action here. That slowness of the old Ironside, that ship that is now sort of turning to fire at those 8 guns from the rear, is really slowed down the Rangers' ability to catch those 13 guns. And what we have here, Kieran, as I'm seeing, is the Rangers' Corvette is about to get completely shredded by 2 13 guns. It went on the other side of that pill-shaped island, and it is in the complete clutches of the Hydras. Now, that ship is the ship that if you sink it, it doesn't matter one way or the other. Like it matters for how many guns you have to bear, and a very powerful ship, no doubt, but it doesn't contribute to victory or defeat. Nonetheless, to risk it like this was brave in the extreme. And I don't see the Rangers, Kieran's, actually making a move to dive into this battle. Not the rest of their fleet right now.
No, they're. I think having the Corvette stick with the boats for now is a good idea. It does give them a little bit of extra firepower, but I think the rest of the fleet really needs to catch up, and I wouldn't let that Corvette go down without, maybe getting some resources themselves. So yeah, it's getting absolutely hammered by the 17 guns. I don't see how it survives coming out of this battle.
Yeah, I'd be honest, I wouldn't be shocked if it sunk. All right, well. Percy, how are your Hydras doing? Looking pretty good.
A little bit of damage on the I'm going to butcher the name. I am very sorry, 15 PP here, but the Trowbridge? Definitely wrong. Yep. Yeah, the Trowbridge. That has taken a little bit of damage, not as much as I was expecting. Obviously, they brought through the gunboats here with that little push from the from the friendship here with Vice Admiral Stormer on that Corvette there for the Rangers. So they did have a little bit of a push, but there was far too much back for the Hydras. Those 8 guns were rushing in, and as I say, it looks like again those 8 guns, they're coming in again. They're going to start pushing. But I like the idea here that they are holding these pills. If you want to try and come for them, you either have to take a load of broadsides or you have to go around the other side. And it gives these 8s that are already moving in that direction more of an opportunity to set up the next blockade, let the 17s move, come back around to the position they want to. I think they could have, the Rangers could have done a lot of damage there if they had committed. But they didn't. They held back, and I think they lost quite a bit in at least repair resources. I don't necessarily about health, but repair resources there on the friendship. Maybe Kieran's could tell me about that.
Yeah. What do you think is next for them, Kieran's? I mean, they came out with a bloody nose. They certainly are not defeated, but they have come out with a bloody nose after this first encounter. Where do you think this goes from here for the Rangers?
Well, there's always chance to recover. They're not down yet. I do seem to be having some technical difficulties though, because I can't see any ship's health. So
Yes,
it's a mystery to me.
It's not you. It's not your technical difficulties. Unfortunately, we have some issues with seeing ship HPs on one of the teams rather than the other, which we apologize for greatly, and we have spoken to the game devs about maybe giving us a fix so that everybody can see every ship HP, especially from our spectators. That said, there are ways to see and understand what kind of damage these ships have taken, and of course, you'll see them sink when they go down. So really, it's a matter of pressure. It's a matter of, you can, like, for example, we can look at the Friendship, which is the Rangers Corvette. That ship is now very firmly offset from the Hydra's main fleet. We can tell just using, our understanding of how these boats work, they are hurting very badly. No doubt it took most, if not all, of their repair resources to just get that ship to stay alive during that withering broadside that it took from 2 17 guns and 8 guns and whatever the hell else was firing at it. But we're looking at a situation now where the Rangers do seem to have a nice vantage on the Hydras, the front of the Hydras fleet. The question is can they unite? Can they get all of these ships to concentrate fire on a single target? Do they have that discipline? Do they understand how this works? Because if they do, if they have trained and watched previous seasons and they are on top of the sort of metagame that they are inheriting here from previous seasons, they're going to know that a focused fire on one of these 8 guns could take it down and change the balance of this match right now. And we are going to see it happen in moments, mere moments. The Hydras, I think, Percy, are looking to board. What do you think?
I called it from the beginning. This front ship, the Defiant, led by Medkit, as I say, has got the like of what's it called? Hawklander on there. From there, we've got Boozle, one of our former members that has moved straight over to the number 16 there. They've got Vex. If this ship makes contact with any of the other ships over there, there is going to be some boarding action for the ages. I don't think they necessarily matter if a mast goes down here. They are drifting. They don't mind about drifting here. They just need to get on board, and if they start repairing, they will get there. That 17 gun is doing a lot of damage. I don't think the Defiant is going to live through this. I think they have got a very nice position here from the Rangers with that 17 gun. It is in perfect position here. But there is far too many ships committed here from the Hydras here. They've pushed in. They know what they want to do, and they want to take out the Evergiven here. It's whether Gandhi is going to be able to get this.
Yeah, the Evergiven, the Gandhi ship in the TRR has done an incredible job with chain shot to defray that first ship's boarding attempt and kind of stifle that. But those 8 guns are not going to give up. They have other options. We're looking at the sinkable, the Hydras sinkable, which is that next lead 8 gun, and it is going for the 13. It is going for a ship whose name I will certainly mispronounce. Totec. We're going to call it the Totec, and it is going in. We are going to see a boarding action at the border. Guys, keep your eyes peeled, because what you're going to be watching for, folks, if you are looking at any of these ships, is if you see sort of churning water start to appear on the deck of one of these ships, that's it sinking because it's been captured. Capturing is an extremely difficult venture here, but look at this mess that is happening at the border between 3 boarding ships from the Hydras. They're one of the Rangers' flagships. We are now in just a mess of boarding actions, and we will bring it all to you as best we can. Watch these guys fight for their very lives. You're going to be seeing grape shot being shot out of cannons. You're going to see people stabbing one another. You're going to see ships locking together. They get a little sticky in these situations, so it's sometimes very hard to pull a ship out of a situation like this.
This is, I can already see it in the kill feed here. The number 16 have gone in. They have absolutely just taken over here what looks to be the Chicago server of the Rangers over here. Whether they can hold it is a different story, but there is a load of 7 Foos on there as well. They have taken control of that ship here. Where in meantime here, the Totec, as was being said, they are absolutely just sticking to their guns, quite literally here, as they are absolutely battering the sinkable. Whether this was the plan the whole long, there is a giant host here of just, I think it's at least 2 8 guns here, At 2 8-guns and a piece. No, 1 8-gun apiece. 1 8-gun on the Rangers, 1 17-gun, and 2 8-guns apiece here from the Hydras. Just making sure that tangle is kept up here. I'm going to try and keep on with looks like the melee here, because Spicy Paper is doing an absolute great job. Frisky's in there too.
What has happened to the Sinkable is that they have all of their guys on a different ship. When they got demasted, they got left behind. Now the Chicago server is in danger because it is now in a melee battle with two of the. Hold on, let's see. Oh, never mind. The Doofus is the one in danger. The unlucky Doofus. Yes. This is the number 16s, the Hydra's boarding ship. It is very much in danger because there are 2 ships worth of people that could board it right now. Now, capturing a ship is going to take over a minute of dominance on a ship, while there are at least 2 respawns happening. We've got to, however, talk about the rest of this battle because while this craziness is going on, Kieran, tell us what's been happening on the other side of this field.
Well, as we got to the border, the 17-gun also got squished up at the border, and it managed to turn around and make a comeback. It did some very quick repairs. At one point, I thought they were going to get 2 masts taken out, but they've repaired very quickly, and now they're putting down cannon fire on one of the French flagships, the Traubery. But they've done a great job on the northern side to recover. I just don't know whether the fleet to the south, which is currently engaged in melee, is going to hold up. I will just say the Rangers are no strangers to melee. They have some fantastic melee players, so I think that they could potentially hold their own on that side.
I agree. Something to notice: we have lost the Corvette. The Corvette of the Hydras is down. It is sunk on the bottom of the ocean. It was so easy to miss with all of this incredible action, but it is gone. Please continue, Percy. I know you had something you wanted to say.
We just had an 8-gun fight that was surrounded because the Defiant pulled out of that border skirmish over there, and the 2 17-guns came in from both Falasian and Mika here on the Flying King and the Joby respectively, and just sunk the Ever Given that was on the side there of the Rangers. And now they've got a lovely position to do crossfire over here, right onto Admiral Frankie's old Ironsides here.
Yeah, he's
taking
only fire at one,
and he's absolutely taking some heat over here. But the other 17 is still over here, and the Totec, while it's being held up, the Chicago server is still there. The Sinkable is still up, and the unlucky Doofus is just keeping it down. They've got the point where they have 2-on-1 over there, and they are trying their best to try and fight. But I don't know how long that Frankie is going to live here. But if they can manage to turn the fight up in the other corner here with these 2 borders, and Lucius is coming in again with the unlucky Doofus for another ramming here on the Totec. They are just keeping them busy. They are keeping them out of the fight. The scores are going to be very tight after this. I can't wait to see how this continues. There's a boarding action, loads of X going in right now onto the deck of the Totec. Oh, this is exceptional stuff today.
Yeah, the Rangers just lost one of their flagship 17 guns as well, which is it was in a tough position, wasn't it? And they now the 8-gun, the Gilly's Revenge is trailing behind, trying to get some shots onto the French flagship, but it's in a really terrible position against the French flagship, the Flying Finn, and it's taken an absolute beating.
Now, the one thing we do have to know, I was going to say just very quickly here, is the score difference. 2 of the ships on the side of the Hydras have been ships that count towards the points, whereas currently the TRR and the Rangers here, they only have 1. I don't think they have one because the Corvette doesn't count, does it, towards this? There's currently a 2-point advantage here for the Hydras.
Yes, yeah. The Hydras they have sunk at least 1.
There's another one.
Yeah, and that 8-gun is going any second, and it's gone. So those 2 ships that got caught in the crossfire of the Hydra's 17 guns, like the genius of the Hydra's maneuver here was to use all of their 8-guns to tie up one 17-gun. And by doing that, they let their 2 17-guns just hammer everything else, and they are sweeping the rest of the field. Now, I have every confidence that the Totec is probably going to survive these boarding attempts. It's probably not going to sink from a boarding action, but what it's certainly not doing is it contributing in any way to the artillery engagement that was happening there. And now we can see that the Hydras have basically cleared their side of the field. They're probably going to be sinking this Corvette any moment now with concentrated fire from both of these. Well, look at that. That it really shows you that. Look at the Chobri or the Trobri from the Hydras is getting just hammered by the Rangers' friendship. That is their Corvette, which is just demasting them like crazy. But no matter how well it does against a 17 gun, and it can do exceptionally well and a lot of damage, there is still another 17 gun that is firing upon it, and it was already damaged so strongly from the first engagement today. I don't know how long it can last.
The one thing I will say necessarily about these Corvettes is that they turn on a dime. If you want a ship that's got maneuverability to try and get out of these shots or try and dodge them in any way, this is the one. As I say, if they can keep the Trobris down with their masts, that ship is going to go nowhere. Without the masts, they are just what modern people might say, a boat. And that boat is not going to go very fast. And they can keep those angles from different positions to try and make sure they keep those shots at. It's going to be down to, I think, maybe necessarily the flying fin headed by Admiral Mika here to try and get in. But this has been an exceptional match, and I'm quite honestly glad I went first this season for my first match, because I wouldn't want to be in a match like this, and I hope that we don't get it next time.
I don't think there was, for me, there was no question that the Hydras were going to try a boarding. They have been prepping for boarding. I suspected, I've heard a little chatter, they have been preparing for boarding from the as soon as they found out what was going to be in this new update. And so, I had to congratulate the friendship. That Corvette, the little Corvette that could, is going toe to toe, chain-shotting like crazy against the Hydra's Trobri. They just continuously are taking down these masts and continuously taking some damage for it. But they are still up. They are going to be quickly supported by the Chicago server, which is coming back into the field after a very, very tough melee action that kind of got them separated from all the action here. They are going to try and come and join the friendship to fight the Trobri. Meanwhile, we have lost the second flagship. Oh my goodness. There are no flagships left for the Rangers.
No.
17 guns are down. The Trobri is about to go down, is what I'm hearing, and I think this may spell the doom.
It's gone. It's gone.
Wow. All right. Well, the Trobri is down, so that does give the Rangers a fighting chance. But I think it's still very much stacked against them. They have one 8-gun and a Corvette. That is all that remains here on their team. Whereas the Hydras are bringing into play the Sinkable and 8-gun. The demasted but still up Unlucky Doofus. The Defiant, which has been going through so much this battle. Not to mention the Flying Fin under Mika, who is just constantly providing that long-range artillery that the other ships on the other team cannot return.
Oh, and if you see here right now, just lovely here. Sorry, Lamar, but they're using the new mechanic here brought into the game. The Unlucky Doofus is hoovering up what's left of the flagship that was over there. That health on the Unlucky Doofus means they're going to come back stronger. They might be looking weak now, but if they start hoovering up what's left of the Rangers fleet here, this is just going to become more painful. And it looks like, we've just lost the Corvette on the Rangers here as well.
Yeah, it's just the Chicago server under Big Mamba. Big Mamba, our good friend who provides support for the NSL by helping us with the servers and great servers that we use to play this game on. Well, he's really showing that the Chicago server can take a pounding and stay alive. A little BMG promotion there for you, Mamba. And he is going to try and escape the 17 gun. He's trying to get out of the range of the Flying Fin. He wants to engage those 8 guns on his own without taking the incredible damage that he is most likely taking from that 17 gun just raining long range fire on him. He's got to do something. He's got to claw more points out of this battle. Anything to turn this, what looks like an imminent defeat, into something less than. And it does look like he's barely escaped the range of the 17 gun, but now he's got some 8 guns to deal with, and they are coming in fast. We will watch with 7 minutes left on the clock if the Chicago server can stay alive for the rest of this, the second of Season 2's NSL battle.
Well, I just want to say, Merc,
yes.
I'm pretty I can't see the health of the Chicago server, but I'm only seeing sailors take the repairs when they get hit. So I imagine it might be close to full health, or on the worst case scenario, they've completely run out of repair resources. But they're doing well to hold their own for now. I just wanted to mention briefly about the the Corvette from earlier. You know, that was the first ship that took damage, and it took a hell of a beating, and it came back, and it was the reason that the Hydras lost their 17-gun flagship. So I just think that the repairs are so important now, and yeah, the Rangers are really trying their best to try and get some 8 guns off the battlefield, and they're suffering with their health. The Hydras on 2 of their 8 guns, and one of them's at around 50% health. But yes, so I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, and those, by the way, those 2 very weak Hydras 8 guns are not shirking from this fight. They are coming at the Chicago server. So we've got these 2 ships. We're looking at the Defiant, and we're looking at the Sinkable. And they are on a collision course. They have no fear. They don't care if they sink. They want to board and capture the Chicago server. They are going to sacrifice themselves to do it. They think that they've got the HP to do it, and it looks like they are correct. Once these ships collide, keep in mind, a collision deals damage. So any collision is going to take some health out of any of these. The Sinkable, very minimal damage from getting rammed by the Chicago server. Chicago server is between 2 ships. It's certainly going to get borders on it, and there is a melee going on at the captain. The captain's off the helm on the Chicago server. He is getting hit very hard. We are seeing that the VOC have put some guys on there. They appear to have been repelled, but it was a close thing. And now another boarding action is hitting the Chicago server.
Still points. That's what this is now.
So this is point farming. This is proving you can do it, and they are.
On there, that is not going away, unless someone gets a lovely shot on him. They are going to be locked in that melee for as long as they can.
Yeah, the boarding continues. There are still a few bodies. We've got some number 16 guys on there. I'm seeing. Spicy Paper, a legend of the NSL, is fighting at the helm, holding the helm against 2 or 3 enemies. He has finally been slain, but the damage is done. Mamba is back on the wheel, but that does not mean he is safe under any circumstances. The time he had taken off the wheel has put him well in the range of the Flying Fin, the 17-gun, the large ship.
Gone. There it is.
And they are sunk. That is the game, boys and girls. That is the game.
An absolute match that was.
Wow.
Holy.
Action-packed. Whew.
I'm excited to see what these scores are.
What a great game.
Yeah, what a great game. What a great game, and what a showcase of what this new era of Naval can be. 56,907 to 37,000. 37,000 points is no slouch for these guys. Admiral Frankie with 17 kills at the top of the leaderboard. That is nothing to be ashamed of for the for the Rangers, but nonetheless, a tough loss that in many ways was facilitated by the incredible boarding actions of the Hydras. Let's take a moment to decompress here. Just breathe out, because that was a lot of action, guys, and talk a little bit about what we think was the big moments of this battle. We'll start with you, Percy. What do you think were the turning points of this battle?
I mean, the first one immediately for me was as soon as we saw that, the Rangers came back towards their spawn almost here, and the Hydras had that position of, they had the Rangers had their formation of the 8-gun, and then the 17-gun, and then they had that. They knew exactly what they wanted to do. They wanted to pin those ships up against the wall, send as many people on board as possible, try and wipe the ship. I don't even necessarily think it was about trying to capture the ship, because as we know, it is a bit of a detriment in this league to go ahead. If you try and capture a ship and you do manage to take it, you have to crew it. I don't think it sinks anymore, if I'm correct. I might be wrong there, but I think if I'm not mistaken,
you are correct. You are correct. You have to crew it. You can't respawn on it, but it's yours. So you then have to get crew to it.
Yes. So in that point, it's easier just to get on, paralyze the ship, which is essentially what it is. It's going to keep moving. It's going to keep going. The sail's going to be there. No one's going to be on the helm trying to keep it up unless you have someone who's dedicated to make sure that captain is safe. So you are paralyzing it. It's essentially stuck in that fight all the time. If you've got 2 ships over there being held back by 2 ships, the 17s of the Hydras over here get to play with whatever meal they want. They get to snap up and eat and crunch whatever ship comes in the way. And that was the Evergreen, I think it was, or something like that. Unfortunately, that ship got taken out. And while the Rangers again managed to do the same thing with the ship that they wanted to take out, which was obviously, I believe, Whitefrost's Corvette that they had over there. The difference was the fact that one ship counts towards the points and the other doesn't. And they just focused on those ships. Once that one was gone, the other team was much closer to their other ships than the others were. And that divide and conquer for the Hydras left the Hydras be able to just put their power and pressure into one part of the map that the other team couldn't get to come and help with. And they just managed to sink one, collapse on the other, and go from there. So that's where I think it turned there, is that immediate sort of decision to go, right, you three, get in there and paralyze those ships.
Yeah. Kieran's, what do you think this boarding-focused battle says about the future of the league? Where do you think that this is a proof of concept that is now going to be copied by all the other teams in this league?
I'm going to say no. I know boarding is important, but as you said, needing the crew to get on the ship and then command it and things like that, I don't think it's worth the boarding. If you can debilitate a ship and sink it, I think that will be the go-to method of winning. I don't think that boarding is going to be the be-all and end-all. I hope it's not, because I do like watching some long-range shots.
Yeah. It's very, very, very difficult to capture a ship in the NSL as it stands now. To let everybody know, because these rules are all so new, the Age of Sail update is all just so brand new to all of us, and we only had like a week or two to really get to know this game before we had to draft the new rules of the NSL. There will be, after the 4th battle this season, a meeting privately with all of the teams to talk about what they think works and does not work, to maybe make a course correction to make this league as fair and competitive as we all want to make sure it is. That said, right now, it's performing, I think, very interestingly. And what we saw today is, this is the birth, I think, more than last week, because last week very much reminded me of a Season 1 NSL battle. It was positioning, it was concentration of fire, right? It really harkened to the past. This battle looked towards a possible future for the NSL, in which a combined fleet strategy of boarding to shut down enemy ships while freeing your own strongest ones can be a dominating strategy. And who else could do it but the Hydras, last year's SCP-38s, a team that nearly claimed the championship for themselves at the end of that season. An extremely impressive opening from them, and all the more impressive because of the innovation. You could see that 3-8-gun column in an almost like Nelson at the Battle of Trafalgar, heading into that blistering fire from the Rangers, knowing that no matter how much damage they took, they were not going to sink before they reached their enemy. And then once they did reach their enemy, it would be pure chaos. And they stuck to that 17-gun like glue for most of the rest of the battle. That really shows how dangerous this boarding universe that we have opened up could be. And I cannot wait to see how it changes everything. We saw the first of it today. Now, of course, the Rangers are going to be leaving, I think, gentlemen, with a lot of lessons, hard-won lessons that they are going to take into their next battle. I can't wait to ask them. I see them in the green room, the Admirals, and I'm sure they will be joining us any moment. I think they're joining us right now. So what we're going to do here, guys, we're each going to ask one question each to each of the Admirals. So they'll get 3 questions from total, and then I'll usually wrap it up with what are you taking into next week. So don't ask them what they're taking into next time. I'll ask that. But if you have a specific question about something that happened in the battle, let's start. Let's take a look. We have Muffin Top Scout. Muffin, an incredible battle, an incredible victory. Congratulations.
Thanks. It was a good fight, a hard fight, but it was good.
Yeah. The Rangers certainly acquitted themselves extremely well as opponents, and their score showed that they put up an incredible fight even against one of the top teams of the league. We have 3 questions for you. My first question is, was the boarding action the goal the whole time? Or was that something you conjured? Yeah. Okay.
Nope, the whole time.
Not the whole time.
No, it was the whole time.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about what that plan was, how it came together. Give us the details of how that plan formed in your mind and how you wanted it executed. Did that match up? to what you saw here today?
It's probably about 50-50 there, with the boarding timer kind of being the way it is. But the whole intent is to get our 8s to within boarding range and try, if we can focus on one target, that's great. If not, then try to 2v1 an opponent while the third 8 kind of helps where it can. But we were really trying to swarm one target and bring it down. And then once that's what we were looking for. That's why we had a kind of a unique formation in a lot of times, as we were looking for a good boarding target, and finally that 17 gun of theirs was there. So we risked it all to just keep boarding it, and then thankfully my 217 guns were then doing the job that I needed them to do, of just focusing down the other enemy ships and sinking them.
All right. Percy, what is your question for Muffin?
Unlike most teams in the league, and even, we dabbled with it last season, your team really likes an apple in the sky approach. So my question is going to be based around, with the amount of chaos in the match that was here today, how did you find being drawn elsewhere? Were most of your captains just reliant to carry it on its own, or were you having to be everywhere all at once, probably like some of our camera people here today?
It's a little bit of both. So I kind of focused myself on our small ship engagement, so our 8s on the boarding and fighting over there. And Mika, being one of my 17 gun captains, he's basically, a second admiral. Him and Falasian were coordinating with the 17, so I could leave them alone for the most part to handle their fight, and I could focus in on trying to maybe micromanage a little bit on the melee. But a lot of it's just like, go forth and I watch.
It sounds like you just get to be a spectator while your team does a lot. No, I'm kidding. No, you do a lot of work in the sky there. And I'm excited to see how it continues for the rest of the season. Great win.
All right, let's pass to Kieran's. Kieran's question for our victorious admiral.
Well, firstly, well done, Muffin. It was a fantastic game to watch. I want to know about your opening thoughts of the game. Did you have a certain tactic in mind when you was going against the Rangers? What was you hoping for from the beginning, besides winning?
Obviously, always that. But the main idea was to hopefully have them come to us up in that little part of the triangle. We wanted them to kind of turn, and we were willing to offer up our 17 guns as that lovely, lovely target. But it was really looking for an engagement where we wanted to try to crossfire and push our 8s to point blank range, because, as I said, boarding was the name of the game, and that's what we were going to do.
Thank you.
All right. So the last question is, what are you taking away? What are the lessons learned from this battle? What needs improvement? What concepts did you prove today? How are you feeling going into future battles?
Yeah, overall, the main improvement will be still formations. We'll still be forming up for the attack, maybe committing, and then seeing how the enemy kind of maneuvers to our movements, and just get better at kind of getting our guys closer and closer into the fight. So that's
All right.
it's always that. It's just
Maneuver, organization.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, congratulations on a great fought victory. And I think I was saying before you guys got here, I think this was a vision of the future, as much as any battle could be. And we look forward to seeing as you guys continue to innovate here in the NSL. We love having you. All right, let's turn it over. Now we have Frankie and I think Running Rock. We have representatives from the Rangers. How are you guys?
Pretty good. How are you guys doing?
Very good. Thanks for joining us. For your debut battle. Well, now, Frankie, not your first time in the NSL, but for the Rangers, a debut battle. What was different as you guys got into the thick of things from your expectations?
Well, I mean, I kind of expected it when they were trying to force us towards the spawn, that we were going to get close and we were going to engage in melee. I wasn't exactly sure, how it would plan out because we had a lot of our good players off at RGL for competitive melee and stuff, so we didn't have all of the A team. But I mean, I still think we put up a decent fight. Um, yeah.
I'd second that. I thought you guys did. I mean, listen, the Hydras are an experienced and incredible and gigantic team with many heads and many people who came very much to execute the strategy that they executed today. I thought the Rangers, you guys did a great job, especially again for I don't know how many of these guys on your team. This is their first time ever competing in the NSL. I thought it was really well done. Loss is a loss, and they're never fun to have, but it's how you lose. And I thought you guys did a great job, really repelling and putting the fight back onto them and counterboarding. And it was crazy out there, as I'm sure you guys enjoyed quite a lot.
Yeah.
All right, let me pass it over to Kieran's. Kieran's, what question do you have for Frankie?
I wanted to ask, was there a point in the game where you felt like things were swinging to your side, or was there also a point where you thought this is it, let's go down swinging? But also commiserations. I think you fought a really good game.
So there were a couple times, like when they had, like Muffin was talking about the 217 split off, we were going to try and target the rest of their smaller fleet because they hadn't moved out yet. I noticed that we were a lot slower than we were on the practice run when I had put in the conf for like 1.2 speed from what I saw in the update. It felt a lot slower compared to that. So I think better preparation will also help with that, I think. But yeah, no, like that specific part where they split off, where we wanted to try and get them, that was where. And then once they started moving, that's when we kind of redirected the other direction because we didn't want to take a spread out fight where they're waiting for us basically at the island. We're just going in
Yeah.
there to you.
You guys did a really good job at keeping your ships together as well. I just wanted to say that there was like really good fleet cohesion throughout.
Yeah, Percy.
Yep.
First off, I'm going to say what a first match in the NSL. Obviously, I know you've got some crews there that have played already before, but I mean, I'm very, very, very happy to see that we've got a lot of competition this season. I think it's anyone's game so far, and just fortunately that the Hydras managed to get the upper hand today. My question for you is going to be your Corvette earlier on in the match. That captain was taking a lot of risks. Do you feel at any point that you guys were going to lose that ship? Because we couldn't necessarily see the health from here, but I know people at home are probably dying to know how close was it to going down?
About half
or-
from what I was
Yeah.
hearing in TeamSpeak. After about the halfway point, we're like, yeah, this is a gamble that's not really going to pay off. So we're just going to try and get him to reform and protect them the best we can for the rest of the match.
I love the idea. I love the way that you guys were seeking to innovate. I last week kept my ship, my Corvette, straight out when I was piloting it or captaining it. I liked how you guys went in nice and close and managed to use your fleet to pull it back out again. Maybe not unscathed, but at a relatively decent health, that it was still able to help and fight towards the end and get that kill on a 17-gun flagship over
Yeah.
there. So really, really well done, and I'm excited to see what you and your team come up with because I think there's going to be a lot of lessons to learn here, but a lot to take away to be proud of for your first match. Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely. Definitely going to be a lot of work that we're going to be doing here. Definitely with fleet work, trying to stay together because at one point we did kind of get really split up, which also kind of caused a good portion of our downfall, I think. But yeah, we'll try and work on that, and then we'll be better for the next match.
Well, I think you've answered the question I wanted to ask, which is what are you taking from this? Anything other than fleet work? Anything that you really want to focus in on that you can tell our viewers to expect from the next time they see you?
Just some new strategies. We're gonna try out some new orders of like how we're sending ships out and stuff, I think. And then I did like the crossfire that they had going from the 217, so we might practice something with that.
Yeah, that was really a great moment for the Hydras for sure. Well, thank you very much for answering our questions. Commiserations on the defeat, but it is a great teacher, and we know that you will learn from it and come back even stronger for your next battle. We cannot wait to see it. Folks, I hope that you have enjoyed the second match of Season 2 of the Naval Sports League. I have been joined today by my good friends Percy and Kieran's. We have had an incredible team of correspondents, directors, associate directors, and all sorts of people behind the scenes who put this together. We are very thankful for all of them. You'll see all their names on the credits, and just really understand that every name that you're seeing on the credits puts in a tremendous amount of work for nothing at all. Nothing but your thanks and your attention and the enjoyment that you get, hopefully, from this competitive league. And same reason these guys are fighting, for glory and entertainment. And we all thank you very much for tuning in today. We will have a 2-week break after today, after which we will do the next 2 games of that first cycle. So stick around and keep checking in. We may put some content out over the next few weekends, but we will see you again, I believe, on the 12th. The 12th is our next game, so please make sure to tune in and join us for that. It has been a wonderful time hanging out with you, Percy and Kieran's. Say goodbye to the fans.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thank you for
And
watching.
thank you for watching, everybody, and have a great weekend. We'll see you next time at the Naval Sports League.